Today's a special day. Well, yesterday was a special day. But, because we're still talking Metallica, and we're talking about probably the most, easily the most well-known, but probably also the most important step in metal. And that's the Black Album. Yeah, when it comes to the Black album, this is where a lot of people are definitely split. Because you have a lot of the old school Metallica thrash heads like me, and like a lot of other people I know who say that this is the day Metallica died, is when this came out. Or this was the beginning of the end, or, whatever metaphor you want to use. And I've listened to this record a number of times. And I listened to it again recently, and I'm like, it's not thrash, but I really enjoy this album. And I think that goes for a lot of people. They're just not going to say it. Because let's be honest here, there's not a bad song on this record. There really isn't. I mean, let's talk about the songs that are not the singles, because everyone and their mother knows the singles. We've all heard them a million times, especially Enter Sandman. You can't go anywhere. You can't go to like any sports event without hearing that song. So yeah, everyone knows about that. But one of my personal favorites was always The God That Failed. I really enjoy this song. I like this riff. Just a very, very cool sounding song. That also goes with songs like Of Wolf and Man, which, by the way, S&M, they played that. They played Of Wolf and Man on S&M, and it sounds great with a symphony orchestra. My Friend of Misery, another fantastic song. The second half of this disc is awesome, in my opinion. The first half is also excellent, but it's just all these are great songs that a lot of people don't really listen to all that much, or don't really talk about all that much. But yeah, this album turned 28 years old yesterday. Some of you are probably like, oh my god, I'm old. Some of us are probably like, man, that was quick. And then you got me who's just like, I haven't even been alive for 28 years, so I wouldn't know anything yet. But there's also another name for this album, the Black Album, which is actually, it's not the official name, it's technically their self-titled, but it's the Black Album. I know it's kind of hard to see, but there is a snake on where my pinky is here, and the Metallica logo where my index finger is here. Very hard to see, but it's still there. This is the infamous black cover, and also this album is very infamous in metal because, after And Justice for All, they left Flemming Rasmussen and went with Bob Rock, which I know a lot of people don't really like Bob Rock because of what he did to their Metallica. But Bob Rock, I think he's an excellent producer, and even though I don't think it was the right direction to go, I mean, for the band it probably was, especially if you look at in terms of sales. I mean, this is, as far as I know, the best-selling metal album in history. And it's probably going to stay that way because, it struck a chord. And, people like to say that Metallica sold out on this record. I don't believe that. I don't think they went into the studio knowing this was going to sell as much as it did. I mean, all the accolades that this album has gotten, to me, that it was warranted because, these are good songs. These are great songs. But Bob Rock, it's an interesting choice. He actually helped out Motley Crue with their album Dr. Feelgood, which is another excellent album, by the way. I'm not much into glam metal, glam rock, but that album is pretty sweet, I'm not gonna lie. And the production sound on that album is excellent. One thing I will always give Bob Rock credit for, he knows how to produce albums and make them sound good. For the most part, he did. Also Saint Anger sounded everything besides the snare everything else sounded good, if that makes sense. But yeah, Metallica the Black Album. A lot of people, especially, like I said, I said this before, but I'm gonna go even further. People who knew Metallica before this probably felt alienated at the time, and that's how. I mean, during that time too, a lot of people like to say that metal was dying, or thrash was dying, which is not true. It was just taking a break. Because if it was dying, it wouldn't have come back. Has disco come back yet? No. So, that's why disco is dead. Now, is this an amazing record? I don't think so. Is it a good record? It's more than good. It's a fantastic record, but come on, man. You can't match this with Master of Puppets, Ride the Lightning, and Justice for All, Kill 'Em All. You can't match them with those. But on the other hand, I do think that this is the best album that Metallica has made after And Justice for All. This being their first one after And Justice for All, and they have yet to make an album ever since that is as good as this one. And that really says something, because the songwriting on here is really good. I mean, let's like I said, The God That Failed, talking about religion. A lot of influence from James there too, which is really interesting. Let's see here. Don't Tread on Me, which is the Confederacy, the famous Confederacy saying. Words are hard. Struggle Within, and I already talked about My Friend of Misery, which is depression. So there's a lot of good songs on here that honestly deserve way more attention. There's more to this album than its singles, people. I know I'm not talking to a lot of you, but as much as I love Sad But True and The Unforgiven and Our Sandman, there's other great songs on this album. This is a phenomenal album, but it's still, like I said, picking my favorite Metallica album is hard, but this is how I usually put it. If I'm listening to one of those first 4 records, whichever one I'm listening to at the time is my favorite. So yeah, that's kind of a, I don't know how to say it. But this album, point of no return for Metallica, because, well, let's be honest here. After this album came out, they wouldn't go back to thrash, like their thrash roots, until 2007. Yeah, until about 2007. If you want to argue Saint Anger, because there's definitely some heavy thrash elements on that, okay, that's fine. But that's still over a decade. So for a decade, we didn't get any new thrash material from Metallica, which, again, if you want to count S&M or Saint Anger, that's really kind of stretching it, if you ask me, but it doesn't feel right saying that. Metallica, pioneers of thrash, and still, I mean, they still played those songs live, but it's just like, over a decade, you didn't put out any new thrash stuff. You instead went more of a kind of a commercial rock setting, which a lot of people say is selling out, but to me, if you sell out, you have full intention of making big records. In fact, if I had to pick a band that sold out more than anything, it would probably be Aerosmith or AC/DC. And it hurts to say AC/DC because I'm a huge AC/DC fan, but ever since Back in Black came out, they've been trying to make a part 2 to that album, so yeah. But yeah, phenomenal record. Everyone knows about it now. The history behind it. In fact, actually, the tour for this album is very interesting. I think they were on tour for like, God, what was it, 2 or 3 years? Well, yeah, this also happened to be during that tour was James Hetfield's pyrotechnic accident, where he was too close to like a I don't know what it's called, but it shot up a huge flame and he got too close and it like burned like the left side of his body. So after that they came out with Load, and we all know how I feel about Load, but yeah, excellent songs. One of my just kind of like guilty pleasure songs. I don't think it's all that great. Like, it's not a bad song. Like I said, there's not a bad song on this album, but there are definitely weaker songs on the album. Number 7, Through the Never. It just feels kind of weak. Like, you listen to it and you may like tap your foot to it, but every time I listen to it, I'm just like, it's okay. That's one I'll skip every once in a while. Honestly, if there's a track, I just, when you get away from it and you don't go out in public for like months and months and months, and you don't go to any events for months and months and months, Enter Sandman, there's a reason why that song is as big as it is. It's a good song. People like to say that we used to like it, but it's a bad song now. If it's a bad song now, it was a bad song back then, and it wouldn't have gotten the airplay that it did. Okay, I know that there's a lot of, I know you could probably argue that point with a lot of music, but that is not a bad song. If you want to know a bad song, listen to, I don't know, Gucci Gang by what's his name, Lil Pump. Listen to that. That's a bad song that got huge. Huge quotation mark. But yes, excellent record. Everyone has this record, even if they're not a metalhead. They probably have a copy of this laying around. So, and also, this is a good gateway. This is a decent gateway album to get into. If you want to get into metal, I suggest starting off with this, along with some other ones, because here's the thing. When it comes to the older, the experienced metalheads, I guess I'll call us, the guys who've been around it for either, who've been around it their whole lives or a decade or so, we already know that this is a good record, but there's better stuff out there. But let's be honest to ourselves for a minute here. A lot of people find metal music intimidating, or maybe they just don't understand why people like it. This is an excellent album for people to get started on, and honestly, even though this is definitely not my first Metallica record, I would still recommend this wholeheartedly to people who want to get into metal. If I had to make another suggestion, I would say Countdown to Extinction by Megadeth. That's another phenomenal album to get into if you want to get into metal. So, yep. That's the album review of the Black Album. 28 years old. Is it still good? Yeah, it's still good. And it's always gonna be good.